And we continue on with the show. Chris Lofthus, each and every Saturday, comes this way. And Chris, I always say you're a brave soul because you always give your cell number. If somebody says, well, let me talk to him. I ask just that you don't call while we're on the air right now. Wait till a commercial. But if they want to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you personally?
Yeah, I tell people to call all the time. I hear it all the time. People say, you're too busy or you're hard to get a hold of, which is not really the case. But I always have my cell phone with me. If anyone else wants to call me personally, it's 514-5003. But I always tell them too, we have a great team too. So, the answer you're going to get from me is the same answer you're going to get from Annette or from Jerry or Travis and everyone that works on the team. So we kind of stay close. So we're kind of a tight niche. So, if you do want to reach out to us, again, it's 514-5003.
All right. Our guest today is Vince Medina of American Financial Network. Vince, I guess one of the things, I talk about, what store should I buy tires at? As far as I know, they're all tires. They're round. They're made out of rubber. Tell our listeners about lenders and the cost and what they charge and how it goes. And my understanding is you can save people some real money.
Well, that's the beauty of being a mortgage banker is when I say we pass on back to the consumers, we really only charge an $8.95 flat fee. That does cover our internal costs, our underwriting and processing, but we're not charging processing fees and all these additional fees like a broker or even when you go directly with a bank. We $8.95, no points, which is huge. When people are paying points, like let's say a house loan amount $200,000, 1 point is $2,000. We're passing that back to you guys and still getting the same rates as everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm assuming other lenders aren't doing that. There's a percentage here and a point there and a point. I mean, that's how they make their money, I guess.
Well, a lot of these other lenders, I like to call it smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
They like to say they're doing it, but really when you go apples to apples, they aren't doing it.
All
There's
right.
hidden costs everywhere.
Yeah. So we did this with Chris. Vince, share your number, how folks can reach out to you today if they want to give you a call.
And that is the best way. My office, typically I'm there working late, but my cell number is 208-477-8587. And my wife is used to it. You can call me up to 9 o'clock tonight.
Well, and if there's family in town, you'd love for it to call. 477-8587, 477-8587. So we open the show, Chris, and we do a lot because, I think the rates are going to get lower. I think they are. I think we've established they are where they are. I'm not pretending to be Ben Bernanke here, but I don't see them going a lot lower.
Well, I don't. I think it's literally impossible. I mean, the banks are at the point now where they're not even really making any money. So, you look at that, and it's just a combination of things. And it's kind of funny watching. We always talk about consumer confidence and people's attitude towards not just real estate, but everything in general. And you look at it, you're going, okay, if you're going to buy real estate, if you're not buying it now, I mean, you're never going to see it cheaper, and you're never going to get rates this low. When we talked about a couple weeks ago, I talk to people all the time, and this sounds bad, but I really kind of wish they would jump the rates a little bit just for a couple months to kind of let people know, and then you lower them back down again to let people know, hey, just, kind of like a little bit of a slap in the face and say, you know what, if you're going to buy, you should buy now because there's no way they can stay this low. Hyperinflation is going to set in. Taxes are going to change like Van and Aaron talked about. So, right now, if you're looking at buying real estate, reach out to Vince, reach out to us, and we can definitely help you and give you the best advice possible.
So, Vince, help us or help me in particular understand, because we hear there's a 30-year fixed and a 15-year fixed. Tell our listeners about those rates and your suggestion. I guess we'd say the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay, well, rates right now, both of them are on historical lows. I told you guys that. The main thing what I tell people is when they're that low, here's the good. You're going to get a great rate on the 30-year. The 15-year is more geared towards the seasoned homeowner who has a lot of equity and a lot of cash flow. When rates are this low and you go on a 30-year, your rate's a little bit higher, but you're not a slave to that big house payment. You can actually, I don't know if people know this, you can make one extra house payment a year and knock off about 7.5 years on the 30-year fix, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And you still don't have to come up with that extra $400 a month because you're locked into a 15-year loan.
Yeah, good advice. And then I guess we kind of talked about this. What is Idaho housing and how does it work? I mean, I hear about it, but I don't understand it. Help our listeners.
Idaho housing, another great feature, brought to you by Idaho, obviously. What it is it's geared towards a first-time home buyer. There are certain criteria where you have to have a little bit better credit score. You need like a 660, if that means anything, on a FICO score. That is a credit score rating.
Okay.
But what it is, it's a 97% loan, meaning a 3% down. The beauty of it, the rate is a titch higher than like your FHA, but there's no mortgage insurance on it. And also you can have gift funds there. The thing where doesn't have the flexibility of, say, a FHA loan where you can take your ratios a little bit higher. There are some income restrictions on it, and every county goes different on those restrictions based on your median average of a house. But give me a call. I'd be happy to go over those with you.
Yeah, so if you underline, you said the advantage is that mortgage insurance, not having that, because that can bump your monthly.
One thing I almost forgot on that also is over the life of the loan, there's a 20% tax credit on that mortgage interest you're paying over the life of the loan. So you can literally save up to $2,000 a year, and that goes right on your bottom line on your taxes. If you owe $600, $2,000 tax credit, you got $1,400 coming back to you.
Yeah, well, I know, Vince, just listening to you throughout the show, I mean, if you were taking notes, we got a lot of great tips on this, and then obviously we told you we'll post it on the website so you can listen to it. So, Chris, if I were to draw a triangle, and on the top of the triangle I've got the buyer, one corner I've got you as my real estate guy, and I've got Vince on the other corner, how important and how do you facilitate all three of this so you've got a nice turning that triangle into a circle, I guess?
Probably I would say the number one thing, and typically, you probably better question to ask Jerry, but what you're gonna typically get with a guy like Vince. So with Vince being local, Vince lives down the street from me, so if I can reach out to Vince very easily and pick up the phone and call his cell phone and say, "Hey Vince, what's going on with the Johnson's loan?" Vince can say, "Here where we're at. We're closing next Wednesday. We're good to go. Docs will be out Monday. We're everything is dialed in." Where if you come in with a B of A, yes, you might have a mortgage, a loan guy, but fact of the matter is he doesn't really have any decision-making factors. Underwriting might be in Manhattan. It's not sitting here in Meridian. So it's just an easier transaction and transition when you're closing your house.
And again, remind folks, if they're just joining us, Vince, the first time on our program, you sold him his first home here
right
in the area, and you two have developed the relationship. How come you recommend him to people?
That the biggest thing, we always talk about this, whether we're talking about any of our vendors, and and I'm not saying it's a perfect world, because we've had a lot of vendors even come on the show that we don't really work with anymore, and it's nothing bad against them, just in general, but it's like one of those deals where we put our stamp of approval on it. Good housekeeping. We put the Chris Lofthus Group. I feel it's a strong brand, and I feel we do what we say we're going to do. So we bring guys like Vince on to do that type of to give that type of service. Is just a big deal for our clients.
And Vince, you underlined with me on some notes, ethical and honest, and I think part of it, I always carry that penny around. I guess that Abe Lincoln guy was that was his motto, and that sounds like yours as well.
Totally, especially with this financial crisis. Lenders, a few of them gave a lot of us a black eye, and I wanted to let people know that not all of us are the same, and some of us actually do care about people. Well,
it's true, Vince, and you just brought that up. It's a good point. Just like in my industry, and in a lot of industries where they've gotten kind of, like he said, a black eye from just unethical people, or they're getting people into loans they shouldn't get, and I've seen some loans that would just floor people that. People just had no business having these loans. They had no business, they weren't even qualified with these arms and stuff. So anyway, the biggest thing is, for the Vince is that their company, and I always say this because they're local, and I think that's really becoming a big thing for us. The local, him being right in Meridian, and him, being not just down the street from me, but, anywhere around here, you can catch Vince. He's always around. He's available on his cell phone. He answers his phone. He returns his phone calls, and it's a big thing for being part of the team.
Vince Medina, our guest, he's the senior loan officer, the production manager as well at American Financial Network. Their motto is financing the American dream. And I guess, Vince, you put a little footnote on that. You said, I want to be your information portal. I think that's a great piece. So even if somebody's listening and say, well, he's going to try to sell me and he's going to do, you want to first give them good information.
Yeah, first thing I want to do is give them accurate information and just help them out. I will be the first to tell someone if it doesn't make sense to refinance, and I will I'm a little blunt where I'll tell you exactly where you stand. And if I can't get you in a home now, I can help you with a 2-year plan to get you in a house.
You know, Vince, I'm looking here at our notes and stuff too. And before we I'm going to keep you on for the fourth segment as well, so we can kind of chat about some stuff, some different stuff with investors and everything. But you know, I look at the paper here. You're talking about 18-year veteran loan. Touch a little bit on that as well.
Well, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly in the whole industry. You know, I've been when rates are good, rates are high, but I've survived through it all, and I think it's because when you take care of people, good things happen to you.
Yeah, you didn't just sign up for a kit and say, well, I got a card here, I'm going to be a loan officer. You know, a couple of decades of experience is important, especially when somebody's making maybe their first home loan or their first home, or if they've got, as you said, bruised credit, they need somebody that's got that experience.
Definitely experience. And my district manager, he's been at it 28 years. Wonderful guy, Mike McLean. You might have heard him in the area. He's been around for 17 years. About as solid as he comes. He teaches at the Genesis Real Estate School as well. So we're helping on all facets. One thing I want to add too is we're going to implement is a charity golf tournament. We're going to start giving back to the community as well. Nice.
Well, it's vincemedina.com is the website. He gave his cell number, so I'll give it as well. It's 477-8587, 477-8587. As Chris said, we're going to keep Vince on for one more segment, along with rates and whatnot. Chris, what do we got coming up in our final segment today?
You know, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the investing side and the different type of investors that are out there and options available to them. You know, we're seeing a lot of the stuff, which I want to touch base on, is you're seeing a lot of these younger people. You know, I got a couple calls this week. I talked to some people that have children that are just 18 years old, you know, going to college, and how, you know, we can talk to Vince a little bit about this too, how the parents can step in and the child can get the, you know, first time home buyer 3.5% down, and we talk a little about co-signing and how they can qualify as long as, you know, the student can afford it. And what we're seeing is these kids are moving into these houses, and then they're getting another couple of kids to move in to cover some of the payment.
All right, you are listening to the Radio Real Estate Show with Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty here in Boise. Reach out to Chris at 350-6228, 350-6228. We'll take a timeout and continue on right after this.
Can you hang?
Yeah, do you want me to elaborate?